Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another Market Open. It is Thursday, May 30th, 8:45 a.m. We've got a lot to discuss. We have Palantir's latest contract. We're going to discuss all the details about that and some new details I found out over the past 24 hours. $480 million from the military or from the Army. We're going to be talking about that, why it's so important, why it matters. The stock is up almost 3% right now in the pre-market, so we'll be discussing Palantir in our first segment of the day. Second of all, we got a bunch of GDP job numbers and core PCE price index numbers this morning. I actually forgot. We got a lot of data at 8:30 a.m. It was like 8:29, and I was like, I feel like it was like a little hunch. I was like, I feel like we're gonna, because 8:30. If you're into macroeconomics, 8:30 is like when shit hits the fan. And I was like, I have a feeling at 8:30 something's gonna come out. And then I go to Twitter and I'm like, oh yeah, we have like 17 different pieces of news. So we're gonna look at all those metrics. TLDR, the metrics relatively good. This whole soft landing thing seems to be in play, and that's why the market is up right now in the pre-market. So we'll talk about that. And then we have to talk about Salesforce and Path. So Salesforce and Path had earnings yesterday. Path is down 30%. Salesforce still down 20%. It's become kind of clear what's happening in the software space and why a company like Palantir might end up being the actual winner. Maybe we are right that Palantir is the true definitive software play over the next decade because they're actually an AI play embedded within software, whereas companies like Salesforce or Path trying to say that they are an AI play might not end up being the AI play. So I got a little bit of research I want to do on those companies and talk about those and get through everything we've got going on there. And on top of that, Elon Musk and Donald Trump might be working together, apparently, to be in the White House. So there's a lot going on, a lot to discuss, a lot to talk about. Let's get into it. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I see people in the chat already saying where they're from. So let's just start off with that. We do that usually once a week. It's Thursday. Put in the chat where you're from, where you're watching from, what country, what state, what city, what town. And we'll read those out as we get started for the day. Victor, William, Yeti, Katie Baby, Jason, Eric Wood, I'm Beneficial, Broccoli Bob, Autumn, Kevin, Jay Duff, Other Zinc, June, Seth, Charles, William. What's up? What's up? What's up? Benny, Colorblind, Collector, Jose, Ryan, Noland, Ging, Real Baby Pluto. Some of you guys have amazing names. Real Baby Pluto. I'm like just saying these names, and it's like I don't know, like Dougie Fresh 69. I'll just casually say, "What's up, Dougie Fresh 69?" And anyone who's new to the streams is like, "What is he talking about?" But I love it. Thank you all for being here today. All right, so where are we from? We've got Mark from Missouri. Okay, I love it. I've never been to Missouri. I gotta visit those parts of the United States, like Alabama, Missouri, Arkansas. So I've been to Louisiana, but that's because of New Orleans. I haven't been to like some of these other parts. So I definitely want to visit those at one point. Christopher's from Canada. I said Canada at the gym. This is how you know I'm not Canadian. Canada at the gym. I love it. Arnold from Germany. I love it. Nick from Tennessee. Muram from India. I'll be in India in October. I can't wait, dude. I cannot wait. I love India so much. It's been 5 years, bro. So I'm excited to come to India. June from San Diego, Ryan from Houston, Invisible Voices from Atlanta. We got London, England in the house. We got Hong Kong, Iowa, California, Panama. That's great. Another place I haven't been. UK, I haven't been there. Colombia, haven't been there. Nantucket, Massachusetts. You had to say Mass just to force me to say it, didn't you? You had to, like, I can't say it. I'm sorry. I can't say Massachusetts, but I'm happy you're from Massachusetts. I've been to Boston, though. So there we go. We got William saying Boston, Netherlands, Russia, Florida, Nigeria, Japan, New Orleans, Myrtle Beach. I love it. We got an entire global audience. And then we got this comment says, when will Palantir reach 50? Well, when it does, let's just say I'm going to Canada, Singapore, Japan, Italy, Montreal. I'm going everywhere once we get $50 on Palantir. All right, let's get into it. I think we'll start off with Palantir. Let's start off with that, and then we'll get into all the macro stuff we've got to go on for today. So Palantir won a contract yesterday, and that contract was a very, very important contract. It was from the military from the Army, and it came out at like 5 o'clock Eastern. And it was a government contract worth $480 million. So let me pull that up real quick, and we'll discuss that. Now, the really interesting thing about this contract, by the way, Bank of America reiterated their $28 price target on Palantir. They said this contract is another, well, I'll read their quote, but they pretty much said this contract is legit. It's the real deal. $480 million firm fixed price for the Maven Smart System prototype. Now, here's one of the most interesting sentences in this, not press release. I'm assuming Palantir will eventually do a press release on this, but like, this is what was said yesterday. One bid was solicited via the internet with one received. There was no competition for this. No one tried to compete with Palantir. I know Palantir got the Maven contract a couple years ago from Google, and I believe this is part of that entire Maven ecosystem. I'm going to be having someone on either this weekend or next weekend to discuss more in depth this contract in particular. So we'll be going super, super deep into this $480 million contract. But the point is they had no competition. No one was willing to even touch Palantir. I wrote yesterday, at any point, Palantir can get a deal for $500 million because of how deeply ingrained they are in the U.S. government. And today, meaning yesterday, was one of those days. $500 million randomly. Bank of America says we continue to see Palantir as an enabler of AI and JATC2. If you don't know JATC2, that is the government's and DoD's initiative to spend tens of billions of dollars on AI and ML in the military. In the new evolution of warfighting, beyond military applications, we see Palantir as a clear beneficiary of the new Chief AI Office initiative. They maintained their buy on the stock with a $28 price target. 2% up in the pre-markets. Now, I mean, look, this is really big news. I think the street is still looking for more commercial growth and more growth on the top line revenue. So, I mean, it's not going to get the stock up 10%. But if you're a long-term shareholder, what matters is asking yourself, why isn't Databricks winning this deal? Why isn't Snowflake's winning this deal? Why isn't C3 AI winning this deal? Why aren't all the big SaaS names? Why isn't Salesforce winning these deals? Why are these deals that are literally $500 million over 5 years, so about $100 million basically per year, added to top line revenue? Why is Palantir the only one that's bidding to get these deals? And you start to wonder, well, maybe they're the only ones that can actually execute on something like this. And if they're the only ones that can execute on something like this, then it's their market to win, and that can help boost the top line revenue growth. This is something Arnie posted today directly from the DoD. Only the Palantir MSS toolkit meets the government requirements. MSS equals Project Maven, the most important AI defense project with Titan, which Palantir won. And as you can see right here, this is where it says from the DoD, only the Palantir MSS toolkit meets all the government requirements. No licenses from other vendors would provide the needed capability. Only Palantir personnel have the requisite knowledge and experience to provide the required FSR support for the licenses. So Palantir now has officially won the Titan contract, the Maven contract, and the Titan contract and the Maven contract. The Titan contract was $189 million. The Maven contract was how much? That was $480 million. So we are seeing a lot of momentum, $670 million worth of deals in 2 months based on what Palantir has been able to do. I mean, it's pretty incredible. Let me just pull up that tweet I had real quick on this. $670 million from, right here. $670 million, $480 million from the Army yesterday, and Titan for $189 million. My question is, well, Titan is not done spending. The Army is not done spending. The DoD is not done spending. We know over the next decade, they want to spend tens of billions on AI and military applications, especially in a world in which China wants to get funny with Taiwan. We're already seeing what happens with Russia and Ukraine. I mean, Karp, quite frankly, he was a bit prophetic here, saying, hey, the world is getting disjointed. And if that world is disjointed and more deglobalized, software is going to be the only moat that survives in that world. And it seems like the defense technology that Palantir is building is the only moat that's surviving at the end of the day for a lot of these software companies. So it is exciting to see this deal. Congrats to shareholders. We got the deal. The deal is done. $480 million. I did not know about this deal. I don't think anyone knew this deal was. I don't think anyone knew yesterday the DoD was going to put out a contract. You know, it was probably on people's radar, but I don't think people knew like, oh, it's worth this much. It could be worth this much. It's over 5 years. It just hit like a bomb. It just dropped yesterday, and then all of us are like, oh yeah, we forgot the company we're investing in can get $500 million like that. You know, like that, simply because the Army wants to increase their defense capabilities. And so in a world in which you think the America particularly needs to win and the overall world is getting more disjointed, Palantir 2141 in the pre-market, then yeah, there's going to be a big market opportunity for Palantir. And this is just the cherry on top to the commercial business. Like that commercial business is expanding and growing and getting a broader life for itself. As that commercial business begins to scale, you've got this nice cushy government business that's now reaccelerating at 16% year-over-year growth from 11% quarter over quarter. I mean, you're getting to a point where, well, there is a resounding moat. This is why Bank of America said, hey, $28, we don't see $28 will put Palantir closer to about $60 billion in market cap. Bank of America does not think that's crazy, even at these financials. What happens in 2 quarters if the stock is still relatively the same, maybe 23, maybe 24, and the financials gotten even better? The PE gets maybe cut in a third or cut in half because the growth gets better. I mean, I think people would be saying, hey, at 21 to $20, why don't we, buy a little bit more? At least that's my assumption. I could be wrong, but that's why I've been buying Palantir, because I don't think it goes below 20. I don't like trying to buy a 24, 25. I don't like chasing it. So if it's staying flat in this 20 to 21, 21.50 range, that's a buy for me. And the contract yesterday only reaffirms why I think that makes sense. S&P inclusion next week. I do not think that's happening, and I hope I'm wrong. Some people have been asking me, what about the S&P inclusion? I think one person asked Google, like, hey, is Palantir going to get included? And Google's generative AI snippet was like, yes, they will be included on June 15th or something. Like, Google doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. So, like, I have no idea if we're getting included. We have the potential to get included in the next 3 weeks. Will we get included? I would bet no, because our institutional holdings are still lower than most of the S&P 500 companies, and I don't think the committee wants that. Now, if I'm wrong, then I'll be very happy. But I want to keep expectations a little bit more light on that. I think next year, early next year, it's inevitable. Maybe even December this year, but it's going to be hard, I think, in like 2 weeks. Also, dude, we would have just heard by now. Like, the rumor gets out, people like in the grapevine, we would have heard that this is going to happen, and there's been zero rumors from my understanding. So I don't think that would be the case. But still, very exciting to see that Palantir got this deal this morning. All right, so that's the updates on Palantir. Let's go to some stuff in the macro. We got a bunch of data this morning, a ton of data that is actually not bad, and that's why the pre-markets are not doing that bad as well. If the data came in bad, now tomorrow's the big day. Tomorrow's PCE. If PCE comes in really bad tomorrow, then we're gonna have a rough day. But this data seems to suggest maybe PCE isn't going to come that bad either. Agent says, how's that good for the stock price? If Palantir gets included in the S&P 500, basically every big fund that has a piece of the S&P 500, the argument is they have to buy a little bit of Palantir, right, to balance out all their holdings and to essentially have their fund in the right trajectory given the rules and regulations. Like, even Kathy Wood, we'll talk about her buys and sells yesterday, but she had to sell a bunch of stocks yesterday because she wasn't fully compliant with some of the rules in the ETF. So most ETFs, hedge funds, etc., A, they just like when you're in the S&P 500. B, they have to buy your stock to keep their portfolios in balance. And so it doesn't mean the stock's going to go up like 100% or something. It just means there's more institutional buying pressure, which is good. And that tends to get people more excited about the stock. And Palantir could be a benefit from that. Tesla ran up 40% before they got into the S&P 500, but then as a company, they had a crappy couple of years and they fell, right? So it doesn't mean that the stock's going to be maintained forever. Okay, economic data. US Q1 GDP came in at 1.3% year-over-year growth versus 1.3% expected. Now, last quarter, the estimates were 1.6, but that 1.6 got downgraded to 1.3 a couple weeks ago because of some revisions in consumer spending. And as a result of that, we actually came in line. If this was 1.6 versus 1.3 on an estimate, we probably would have seen the S&P take a bit of a hit because it means we're not growing as much. But because the revisions were estimated to the downside over the past couple of weeks, we actually came in line with expectations, and it wasn't that bad. GDP price index Q1, 3.1 versus 3.1 estimated. That's good. Core PCE prices came in at 3.6 versus 3.7, leading me to believe that tomorrow's PCE data might not be as bad as people are expecting. I think last time it came in at 2.7, 2.8. If we come in line or come in at 2.6, 2.5, tomorrow's going to be a good day, and we just got to see if that plays out. Initial jobless claims, 219,000 versus 218,000. Why is this good? It means that more people are applying for unemployment. That's not necessarily great for the consumer, but that is good to decrease inflation. Again, that Goldilocks zone. The Fed doesn't want everyone unemployed, but they want a little bit more than 3.9% unemployment so that we can get inflation to get to the downside. We get inflation to come to the downside. We're able to cut rates. If we're able to cut rates, that should be able to stimulate the economy again. If things are starting to potentially break in the back end, and the Fed wants to cut rates before things really break. And this data is basically what the Fed wants to see to be able to make that decision. So GDP expectations are in line with estimates. Jobless claims are good for unemployment rising to decrease inflation. Core PCE coming in lower than expected. It wasn't a bad set of data at all that we got this morning. Wasn't a bad set of data at all that we got this morning. And I think that was actually one of the reasons why the markets were okay. So let's look at the S&P 500 right now. S&P is down a bit, 524. It was down a little bit more. So we were at 524.16. Now we're at 0.26, still down in the pre-markets. Not the worst thing. This thing could have collapsed a bit more if the GDP data came in worse than expected or the PCE data came in worse than expected. But we are down on this data. It's not amazing data, but it's also not horrible data, which is the good stuff we're seeing in the pre-markets. Now, two other pieces of macroeconomic news. Number one, the Eurozone unemployment hits a record low. The unemployment rate for the 20-nation bloc tied down to a new record low of 6.4% in April from 6.5%. So that's really good for the Eurozone because it seems like their unemployment is coming down, which means that their overall growth should be likely to go higher. Companies that are in the Eurozone, Germany, Ireland, Spain, Belgium, etc. So these are some of the countries that in aggregate, their unemployment is starting to go lower. And then here's another piece of macroeconomic news that I think is really interesting. Again, we're pulling up the charts for this one from Ryan Dietrich of Carlson Research. Okay, this is interesting. So if the S&P 500 returns at least 5% or more in May, in June, we tend to go up by 1.2%. So, everyone says June is a horrible month, which tends to happen, right, for the stock market. Well, if May ends up not being a horrible month, the last time we had this was 2009. The monthly return in May was 5.3% for the S&P 500. In June, we ended up being flat, which means we weren't down. Most months were down. The rest of the year, we were up 21%. So on average, June is up 1%, and the rest of the year is up 8.6% if May has a 5% return in the context of the S&P 500. So now let me go to the S&P 500 right now. Currently, the S&P 500, it's down a little this morning, but currently for the month, it's up 3%. So we have 2 days left in May. If the S&P can go up another 2%, then 4 times out of 6 times, or 1, 2, 3, or 5 times out of 6 times in the past, June ends up doing well, and the rest of the year ends up doing really well if we end 5%. So if we gain 2% in the next 2 days, maybe June is not going to be that bad. Now, what's the catalyst to go up 2%? Well, we got PCE data tomorrow. And if that PCE data comes in good, dude, I mean, if that PCE data is not bad, I could see the markets going up easily, 1.5, 2% tomorrow, because if it signals we're going to get a rate cut, then that rate cut is inevitably going to be priced in, and markets are going to moon tomorrow, even if it's a Friday. So tomorrow is going to be really important data at 8:30. If we can get that sucker, I'll get the expectations, but if we get that bad boy to like 2.6 or 2.5, that's going to be very important for the market. So we'll see. Is it a small sample? It is a small sample, but it's only been done 6 times in history. So it's only 6 times in history has the S&P actually gone up 5% in the month of May. Usually May tends to be bad, then June tends to be bad. But if May is good, June tends to be good, and then the rest of the year ends up being really good. So we'll see if that ends up playing out. Okay, so that's some of the macro updates. Let's talk about Salesforce and Path. Salesforce and Path. Now, if you were with me on the market open yesterday, the market close, we saw this happen in real time. And this was tough to see. This was really, really, really tough to see, especially if you own stock in any of these companies. So what happened? Salesforce, first of all, is down 16%. I watched, and I'm going to play a clip of Kramer and the dude, Mark Benioff, talking yesterday. I was unconvinced. Kramer explicitly said, "Hey, why do you think your stock is down?" And Benioff said, "Well, I can't control the market." Well, that's not the best answer. I mean, when your company is a $265 billion company, there's an obvious reason why the stock is down. It's because you missed on some numbers. The numbers weren't the best. You weren't really capitalizing on certain numbers, and the street's going to, not reward you for that. So why did Salesforce fall? They decreased their profit margin, and they decreased their full year guidance. And now the existential question of Salesforce is, if AI is a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity, why are you decreasing your revenue guidance? And I think the reason they're doing that, and this is after like 5 minutes of investigation yesterday, and I got a ton of feedback on Twitter yesterday. So thank you to everyone who actually uses Salesforce in their jobs and was able to give me some context. Apparently, Salesforce AI, this is what they're packaging as their AI. It's Einstein, which is a chatbot. This is what we're doing with AI. And so this is the most I got out of their AI services yesterday. It's nothing sophisticated like Palantir's ontology or the semantic layer intertwined within Palantir's ontology that actually derives business intelligence and value. It is a chatbot. And so you got to ask yourself, and this is what a bunch of people said on Twitter yesterday underneath my post. They were like, yo, I've used Salesforce for 4 years every day. Every single day they're advertising to try to get me to use Einstein. And I'm just like, why would I use Einstein? There is no practical reason for why I need to be using Einstein AI services within Salesforce. And I think these results are basically showing that anecdotal experience that a bunch of people said yesterday on a macro scale is like, people don't need Salesforce's AI. And if they don't need Salesforce's AI, and you can see Mark Benioff in his clip, he starts talking about AI and he just starts using it as a buzzword. Maybe software is going to end up being eaten to an extent by some of these services like AI that can automate a lot of the things that a traditional customer relationship management tool could do. That doesn't mean Salesforce is going out of business. That just means Salesforce is not going to be growing exponentially or even, moderately. And as a result of that, Wall Street's not going to pay the premium. And if Wall Street's not going to pay the premium for a chatbot, well, it might end up being, in my opinion, good for Palantir, because if Snowflake's just a chatbot, if Salesforce is just a chatbot, well, then what's beyond chat? This is what Shyam Sankar has been talking about for years now. It might just end up being Palantir. Here's Mark Benioff on Salesforce's results yesterday.
Thanks so much for having me, and hello from San Francisco.
Well, hello, and thank you for coming on. Look, I'm not going to dance around it. The stock is down the most I've seen your stock down in a long time. But the cash flow numbers seem strong. I'm looking at the operating cash flow. I'm also looking at the Salesforce margin. They both seem within guidance. So I'm trying to, I need to rationalize why this is happening. Why have people decided that your business is definitively slowing right now, and that things are not as good as they seem?
Look, Jim, you can't always control the buying environment, but what you can control is your cash flow and your margin. And you can see the incredible growth this quarter is amazing. I mean, these are cash flow numbers that we've just never seen before, up 39% year over year to $6.247 billion in cash flow. Incredible. And you can see the margin is up 450 basis points to 32.1%. This is a huge transformation that we've gone through over the last year. And this has been an incredible moment for our company. I mean, these are cash flow numbers that are even larger than Coca-Cola.
Well, if that's the case, then revenue guidance of 920 to 925, it is indeed below the 9.34 guidance. Why is it below, given the fact what you just said?
Jim, we're holding our guidance for the year at $38 billion, which has been incredible for us. And what we see happening is not only this amazing transformation in our core financials, but also the amazing AI transformation that we're going through as well.
So Kramer says, why do you miss on revenue? Benioff says, well, we're going through an AI transformation. And again, it's just like, well, if you're going through an AI transformation, you should be raising the numbers. And it's tough to stomach if you're a Salesforce investor, especially if you're an institutional investor and you're betting that Salesforce is a big AI play. Because when you hear these comments, you're like, well, why aren't the numbers reflecting that? It's the same conversation we had with Palantir last year. It's like, why isn't the growth there? And then by Q4, we ended up seeing US commercial was going to be the thing that really grows, started growing 70% year over year this year, 45% year over year. The growth is starting to get there. Could it get better? Yes, but at least we're starting to see it. Well, Salesforce, we're starting to not see it because it's going the other direction. And I think that's the issue right now with CRM.
And you'll see some incredible new customer stories that are emerging with companies who are transforming themselves using our amazing new AI, including FedEx, Air India, and even Paychex. And I'd love to talk to you about that as well.
Well, let me just, before we get to that, I want to deal with this idea that things have gotten more competitive and maybe sales elongated. Is there something that I'm missing, which explains why people are taking your stock down 17, 18%, when it to me looks like this is a rather just typical good Salesforce quarter?
Jim, this has been an amazing year for us. We've completely transformed the financials of the company, and you can see that we're, delivering, as I said, this incredible cash flow and margin number. So, look, I can't predict what the stock market does. You know that. Right. We've been through this how many times over a couple, I guess I've been doing this 25 years. But what I can tell you is that the most important thing remains the customer success, which is why how are we going to make these customers totally transform themselves, more profitable, better customer success using our incredible new AI technology. And that's what I'm really excited.
Okay, so let's talk.
Yeah. So again, I mean, not really giving an answer and doing more of a politician answer. It is what it is. It wasn't the best quarter. I don't blame him for giving the types of answers he did. But as someone looking in of thinking, hey, is this a dip to buy? I don't know, dude. Salesforce is going to lose $50 billion in market cap today when the market opens. They are going to give away all of their gains from November 2023. They're going to go back to those levels. So if we look at this right here, they're going to open at 225 today. Last time they were at these levels, 225 was, November 2023, December. So they're going to be at December 2023 levels. They went up from 225 to 318 at one point. Then they fell to 271, still a good gain from November last year. And they're going to fall back to those levels. Giving up 17% is tough, dude. It's a lot. I mean, again, $50 billion of your stock gone and wiped away because investors don't see the growth potential. And I think this is also good, not the best for the Salesforce shareholders, but really good for the broader market, because you don't want to see a company that can't put up the numbers or is kind of like massaging the numbers with free cash flow versus like actual revenue growth to be able to get a premium and a multiple. And like, that's good. We don't want random companies that are using chatbots as their core AI offering, repackaging the same shit we've seen in a bunch of software companies as like revolutionary AI. They shouldn't get a premium. They just shouldn't. That money should flow into other companies. Hell, that money should flow back into NVIDIA. I mean, I think a lot of investors yesterday probably looked at their Salesforce, and they're like, why don't I have more NVIDIA? Why am I betting on software that's telling me a chatbot is the future? I don't know. And I think that money does deserve to flow out of those companies. And if it does flow out of those companies, maybe Palantir is a beneficiary of it. Maybe NVIDIA is a beneficiary. Maybe the semiconductors are a beneficiary. Maybe, other growthy names, maybe some crypto stocks. I think people are looking for more catalysts. I mean, hell, Dick's, Abercrombie, and Fitch. Dick's is up another 0.21%. It was up 15% yesterday. Abercrombie and Fitch was up 24% yesterday. It's down a little bit in the pre-market right now. And Chewy, for goodness sakes, down 1% right now. It was up 28% yesterday. When you've got Chewy, Abercrombie, and Dick's going up almost 20% on a day, 30% for a couple of them, and you're in Salesforce and you lose 17% of your money, you start to wonder, well, maybe I'm in something that's a little bit too pricey and doesn't have a catalyst. And I didn't know Abercrombie, Chewy, or Dick's had a bunch of catalysts, but apparently they did. And the market might end up rotating some of that capital that's stuck in companies like Salesforce. Okay, as a result of that Path, we also have to talk about Path. Admit they haven't missed revenue since 2006. Yeah, that's another big deal. You miss revenue for the first time in 15 years. Market's going to get a bit upset at that. Now, Path is down 30% still in the pre-market. I am a shareholder of 1,000 shares of Path because TJ took $13,000 of my imaginary money and he bought me 1,000 shares yesterday. We'll talk about that tomorrow on the market open as we do the option selling segment. But he ended up buying the dip with some of the money that I'm helping him wheel. And so now I've got to learn about Path. I have not learned enough about Path in one night. There's a lot more I have to learn. What I did, the little research I did last night, and what I learned is that, well, two things. Number one, the founder CEO story is really weird. So they replaced the founder with a new CEO 2 years ago, and now that CEO is leaving and that founder is coming back. And apparently that founder left because he was a little bit too concerned with the partying life versus just the building the business life. And so maybe he's a bridge to transition to another CEO because they're waiting to find one. But that situation seems like a mess. Number two, I don't know if robotic processing automation, which is what Path engages in as their core offering, is that big of a business. They're going to do about 1.6 billion in ARR. And it's like, yeah, that's a lot of money. But like in terms of growth, in terms of overall growth, I think their guidance shows they're going to grow maybe 4 or 5% next year, which is, you can't be doing that at the level that Path is at. It's a pseudo digital twin of your business without any of the real features of digital twins. And so I'm asking myself, all right, down 30%. Do I think it's going to recover back to $20 in like 2 years? Maybe. And maybe there's an options play there. But also, what is the value proposition of this business and how are they going to grow? How are they actually going to grow given the results that we saw and the guidance that they lowered? Kathy Wood bought 450,000 shares of Path 2 days ago. And she's sitting on something that dropped. I would be very curious if she starts selling today. Either Kathy buys the dip or she sells. And if she sells, that means she's going to be selling along with Teladoc and capitulating on those positions and basically getting out of it. But Path is the 5th largest position in the ARK ETF, 18 million shares. So I don't think there's any way she can get rid of those 18 million shares. Definitely not at the loss that she's sitting on right now. So I think she's going to end up buying the dip. And if she ends up buying the dip and maybe other people buy the dip, maybe there's some momentum in the stock. But it's definitely not looking great for Path right now. And again, I'm going to do more research on it. I know some people in the chat, I said this yesterday, but a lot of people over the past couple of days kept coming into the chat and saying, hey, when's Path having earnings? And in my head, first of all, I didn't know the answer to that. But second of all, I was like, it's definitely not today. Third of all, I was like, why do you care? Like, what is so exciting about UiPath? And apparently there's a following on this stock. Like, people own this company for some reason. I have no idea why. But maybe it's like a under $20 stock, so it's kind of cheap to people, or it was cheap at one point. It was at $10 a year ago, and it's gone up since then, to its credit. So I don't know, but there is a following around this stock, and so I'll be doing some more research. Maybe there's something that I'm missing, and if that's the case, maybe there's some momentum built into Path. We'll see how it performs in about 15 minutes, down 30%. Palantir up 1.86% in the pre-markets. For those wondering why, we got a $480 million contract yesterday. C3 AI, they actually had a decent earnings, up 9.36%. So, their numbers are not amazing, but their growth is starting to get up there a bit. They're doing like 80 million in revenue, a quarter. Palantir is doing 650 million. So it's not really comparable, but $3 billion market cap. There you got a little bit of momentum. Okta is up 5%. They had a decent earnings. Now, today after the bell, today we have a big one, guys. Today we have a lot of shit after the bell, which is also going to be very important as well. Kyle says my average on UiPath is 14 and I'm in the red. Yeah, but you're only, dude, there are people with averages that are like, I think Kathy's average is worse than yours, Kyle. So look, I think down 30%, we see a little bit of a recovery when the market opens. Like we don't go down 40%. Maybe we stop it down 31, 32%, or maybe we go up and we're only down 27, 28%. But you never know. I mean, you just never know how bad the sentiment gets when the market opens. Okay, so today after hours, guys, today's what, May 30th? Wow, we have 1 day left until June. That's crazy. So today after hours, we have Costco. That's a big one. We have Dell. That's a big one. Dell is up yesterday it was up 8% because Bank of America upgraded them to $180. So Dell, we have earnings today. Marvell Technologies today. We have Ulta Beauty today. We saw e.l.f. go on a 25% run. Maybe Ulta can copy that. We have MongoDB today. We have Zscaler today. And then we have Atlassian Team today. And then we have Asana today. So today's a big one, dude. Today for the market close, we have a lot to talk about. And that's going to, I think, wrap up earnings season as well. Okay, a couple other things. Kathy Wood bought a little bit of Palantir yesterday. 25,000 shares. Now, she sold about 500,000 shares of Robinhood, but I'm confused on why she sold. She sold apparently because of this 12(3)(b)(1) rule, which states that a single position cannot become more than 5% of the ETF. And it explicitly said that's why she sold yesterday on her email. However, Tesla is like 10% of the ETF. So I'm very confused. Why can't Robinhood become more than 5% of the ETF, but Tesla, Coinbase, etc. can? And maybe, and I'm just spitballing here, you have to get permissions from the SEC for certain stocks to be above 5% of an ETF. And she got those permissions for certain names, but she doesn't have those permissions for something like a Robinhood. But it did say the reason she sold was because of a regulatory rule. I'm just confused. Why does that regulation not apply to some of the other names? So that's one thing that happened with Kathy. She did buy 25,000 shares of Palantir. And then real quick, here is the Dell move we saw yesterday. It was up 7%. Apparently there's a video, and I just want to show that video for 30 seconds of Jensen Huang saying something about Dell, which is why I think the market's going goo goo gaga over Dell.
Century right here in our booth here. Dell offers more end-to-end computing technologies for the world's enterprise than any company in the world. If you need anything in IT, anything in computing and enterprise, you know exactly who to call. You call Dell.
Jensen says if you need anything in IT or computing, you know who to call. You call Dell. At this point, I'm not sure what to make of Dell. Dell's up, oh my God, it's up another 0.64% in the pre-markets. It was up 8% yesterday. Year to date, it's up 135%, $127 billion market cap, PE of 23. I don't know if that's necessarily expensive per se. I have to go deeper into their numbers. But Bank of America raised their price target to 180, and it's now 180. They raised it from 130 to 180. I think the market's assuming Dell is the new proxy play on NVIDIA, that SMCI is not. So SMCI got to do a good 7x from last year, and now it's down 4% in the pre-markets. And I think the market's kind of cooling off on SMCI being the proxy to NVIDIA. And Dell is the new one that stepped into the limelight. And maybe the market ends up pumping up Dell, and they think that Dell is going to be a major beneficiary of all of NVIDIA's growth. NVIDIA's growth is not stopping. So if NVIDIA's growth is not stopping and they're taking Dell with them to the promised land, then maybe Dell is going to continue to go higher. How much did Dell pay him to say that? You know what's funny? Who posted that video? Michael Dell. Michael Dell posted that video on Twitter. So it's just like, dude, talk about pumping your stock, bro. You got to give him the award of the year. Look at this. Michael Dell. I didn't even know that, like, there was a guy named Michael Dell, dude. That's how old this company is. I thought Dell was just like the name of a company made many decades ago, and like it's just a legacy brand, you know? Like I didn't know there was a guy named Michael Dell. That's my own ignorance, but also I was just like, I did not know this company was this relevant. Obviously, they've been very relevant since the beginning of the year after that Q4 earnings and when they talked about what they've been doing with NVIDIA. But that has been a resurgence. And look, maybe money's leaving Salesforce and Path. And the market's like, well, we know NVIDIA is going to grow. We know Dell is going to be a beneficiary of that. Why the hell do we have our money in Salesforce? Let's throw it into Dell. Let's throw it into SMCI, right? Different proxies that actually benefit from the revolution. And so, or from this industrial revolution of AI. And that's why that money's going into Dell. I had a Dell computer. I think I've had many Dell computers my whole life, dude. Now I have a Mac, but I didn't know like Dell was still that big of a brand. Okay, let's get into this story. Elon Musk and Trump. We got to talk about it. Apparently, the Wall Street Journal did some decent reporting saying that Elon and Trump are working together to potentially form an alliance going into the White House. Let's get a little bit of an update on that. And Tesla's up right now 2%. This might be the reason. There's also a couple other reasons, I think. But let's get a little bit of an understanding of why, and then we'll keep going from there.
Glazer, who co-authored that story. It has gone viral. Everybody's talking about it. Tell us what you know about what you think is really happening here in terms of this relationship and whether he's going to have this true special advisory role. How much of that is Elon Musk wanting that in your mind, or how much of that is a Donald Trump and Ike Perlmutter and Nelson Peltz and Carl Icahn and that whole troop wanting that?
Well, Andrew, it's an election year, so that means alliances get reformed or come together when people want something. And so we know that Donald Trump has dangled this special advisor role to Elon Musk. It could be around the economy. It can be around border security, both issues that Elon has been extremely vocal about. We know they talked about it. We know they talked about it at Nelson Peltz's.
Real quick, guys, I just got a new update on this story. So this broke literally a couple minutes ago. Elon Musk is now working to ensure cleaner elections. Musk and fellow billionaire Nelson Peltz, who just sold all of his Disney yesterday, have told acquaintances they are working on a data-driven project to ensure votes are fairly counted. And they've also briefed Donald Trump on a plan they have to develop to invest in a data-driven project to prevent voter fraud. That just came out this morning. So if there's any doubt that Elon's working with Trump, it seems like based on these updates, he definitely looks like he's going to endorse Trump. And if he's coming up with a plan to ensure the safety of the votes being counted and things of that nature, so there's no mess up in the votes, then that means he wants Trump to be part of that initiative.
Oceanfront estate in Palm Beach back in March. And while it isn't fully hammered out yet, it's something that could happen should Trump win the presidency.
So here's the question about how much of this was a just thrown out idea. How much of this was discussed prior to the breakfast? I'm just trying to understand whether this was just a sort of random thought that Donald Trump threw out there, whether this was something that Ike threw out there, this was something that Nelson Peltz said, hey, Donald, you should make him the special advisor. And that's what we're talking about, or we're talking about something much more serious?
So obviously we can't reveal our sources, but the Wall Street Journal wouldn't write an article if we didn't think it was something legitimate that was there. With any of these things, just like if a deal might be talked about, there's a sense that it may not fully materialize. And also Donald has to win the presidency first, but it was not just a random aside. This is something that they talked about, Trump and Musk. It wasn't just something someone else threw out there.
Right.
They talked about where Musk could have influence. That could be around border security. It wasn't just like, oh, special advisor, go take this and let's all be happy and sing Kumbaya together. So we know that there were discussions about it. We know it's still out there as a possibility.
Right. And what do we think from the Elon Musk side? So I gather, I can see why Donald Trump would like this to be out there. Elon Musk has been vociferous, obviously, in his frustrations, let's say, with President Biden, but has been unwilling, at least so far, to endorse a candidate, has said that he may not endorse a candidate, has been kind of reluctant to do that. This would be, I mean, this unto itself is almost a stealth endorsement. The story reads like a stealth endorsement.
So he has not gone so far as endorsing Donald Trump. You're right. However, Elon Musk is part of this influence campaign that we heard about, where he is co-hosting along with Nelson Peltz, David Sachs, part of the PayPal mafia, these dinners.
Let me ask you about this. How much do you think this is driven by Nelson Peltz, David Sachs, and that troupe that are having these dinners, and Elon, you know, is being asked to come to them? And how much of this is being driven by Elon Musk saying, hey, David Sachs and Nelson Peltz, I want you to set up this dinner and I'm going to co-host it, and you guys are going to show up to my dinner. Do you see that?
Yeah,
there's a big difference, and I think people need to understand what's going on here.
I think that's a fair point. If Elon had not co-hosted the April dinner with David Sachs atop the Hollywood Hills, if he were just a random guest, I see your point, and that might have been the case at this March breakfast gathering in Palm Beach, where he brought his son. Barron Trump was there. Nelson Peltz's son was there. But the fact that Elon co-hosted the April gathering, to me, shows a marked difference.
I think. All right. So obviously, it seems like there is something going on with this Elon-Trump alliance. It seems like, you know, Robinhood right here, 2148, Robinhood up about 2% in the pre-market. It seems like Elon wants Trump to get elected. That's what it seems like. And it seems like he thinks that Trump will be a better president. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because if you look at something like Tesla, first of all, Trump's been very obvious. Tesla right now at 1.44%. Trump's been pretty explicit that he does not care about EVs and he doesn't care about the subsidies around EVs, any of that stuff. So a lot of people yesterday were so confused. Why is Elon working with Trump if Trump doesn't care about EVs? My simple answer to that is I think Trump at the end of the day is someone you can negotiate with. And if he's someone you can negotiate with, if Elon thinks Trump is going to be good for like 17 other reasons, he can maybe nudge him on the EV thing. And that is where an alliance can be formed. The real like kind of core tiebreaker here is that Elon has no chance to build a meaningful alliance with President Biden right now, because obviously Biden just like is not a fan of Elon. But if Trump embraces him, then maybe there is an alliance that can be formed. And if there is an alliance that can be formed, that will probably be stronger, at least for Elon's initiatives, which does affect Tesla shareholders. At the end of the day, this absolutely affects you as a Tesla shareholder, because if Trump comes out and is super friendly to EVs and announces way more initiatives than Biden could have thought of, or, you know, gives more grants or does something in terms of AI regulatory frameworks that Elon is a fan of, that OpenAI is not a fan of. By the way, we have to talk about the OpenAI news. I couldn't get to it yesterday on the market close because we had too much earnings, but we got to talk about what's going on with Sam Altman after the bell. Maybe that's beneficial for Elon, and maybe that's beneficial for Tesla shareholders. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But that is one thing that was pretty big news yesterday, and we'll see how that ends up playing out over the next coming months. All right, we've got the market in 2 minutes. Thank you all for being here. Robinhood right now up 1.45% in the pre-markets. Dell is up a little bit. Palantir is up 2% in the pre-markets, 2137. Tesla up 1.44%, and the overall S&P is down a little bit, down 0.31%. Now, again, the macro data, if you're just joining, was pretty good. GDP estimates came in line at 1.3%. We had core PCE prices come in at 3.6 versus 3.7. Initial jobless claims a little bit better than expected. And GDP price index 3.1 versus 3.1. That came in expected. So we got all the right macro data we needed for the market to not do horrible. Tomorrow is the big day at 8:30 a.m. Tomorrow, we get the PCE data. If that data comes in relatively good, then we should see hopefully a decent Friday and a decent end to the month of May. And then we get into the month of June, which is kind of crazy to say, but we are going to be officially in June after tomorrow, and we'll see how that plays out. Yes, Nelson Peltz did sell his entire stake in Disney. He's out. He lost his kind of battle with the board. He wanted to have more control. They didn't let him get that control, so he's out of Disney. And so now Bob Iger is going to have, I guess, more control than he had before to be able to do whatever he wanted to do. All right, here we go. It is officially 9:30 a.m. Thursday, May 30th. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We got a lot to talk about after the bell. The stock market is now open. Wake your ass up. Here we go. Robinhood opens up $21.20, up 0.5% on the day. Tesla at $178 on the day as well. Palantir $21.12 on the day, up 0.81%. SMCI is down. Dell is down. UiPath down 31%. It continues to go down. $12.55. Let's see if there's any bottom that forms, if there's any buyers that come in. But Path is now down at 30. Down at 31%, 12.52 on the day. Chewy is up 2.3% after being up 27% yesterday. Abercrombie & Fitch down 1% after being up 28% yesterday. Dick's is up 1% after being up 15% yesterday. Salesforce continues to fall 17.9% down. People are still selling Salesforce. There are some buy orders coming in. It's not going down dramatically, but it is still red on the day. So Salesforce continues to take a bit of a hit. Robinhood, $21.34, up 1.10% on the day. Alibaba below 80. We saw a lot of issues with China and Taiwan over the past couple of weeks, or really over the past week, when China said they're going to do these military initiatives as punishment for Taiwan. So now Alibaba down below $80. At one point, it was at like 88 2 weeks ago. Google at $179. Rocket Lab, $4.29. That's up 2.6% on the day. Carnival Cruises is up a little bit on the day, 0.33%. Hershey's is down below 194. Cacao prices are continuing to go up. So that means Hershey's goes down. It was at 208 a couple weeks ago. Now it's at 194. So we're seeing a bit of a reversal there. Shopify, 58.43. NVIDIA, where is NVIDIA? Let's check on NVIDIA. NVIDIA, 1148. Not red, not green, basically flat on the day. But the fact that it's still 1149, dude, is just incredible. It's not giving up their gains at all, and they're maintaining this momentum. So NVIDIA is green. On the Mag 7, we've got Apple that's green, 191. Microsoft 422, that's red. Meta's red. Google's red. Amazon's red at 180. Tesla is green at 178, and then NVIDIA here at 1149. Elf Beauty at 184. By the way, Faraday Future, this thing fell like 70% yesterday. So if you're in Faraday Future, that one got hit pretty badly. That one, the rug was pulled. It was at $1.40 for the longest last week. Now at 43 cents on the day. PayPal is up. They got upgraded to $90, I think, from Bank of America. I might have the firm that's upgrading them wrong, but they did get upgraded today to $90. We're moving 2%. It's nice to see. We'll see what happens with PayPal, but at this point, I think the market's just waiting for a bigger catalyst on them or better numbers. I thought the earnings were really good. I think this will actually be $75. But PayPal here at 62, down up 2.5% of the day as they got a price target. Salesforce still down 17.8%, a little bit of a green candle there. So we're seeing some buyers come in, but it's still down 17%. And then Path, wow, Path's down 33%. Path continues to fall. Path continues to fall. Oh my. Oh my, oh my, oh my. Path continues to fall. Okay, we had a couple of earnings this morning. We had Dollar General. So results on Dollar General. This is a big consumer stock in the United States. They beat by EPS on 5%, 165 versus 157 expected. They beat revenue by 0.14%, 9.91 billion versus 9.9 billion expected. They reported a 6.8% increase in net sales, and they saw same-store sales growth of 4.3%. Let's go to their stock. Dollar General. Path continues to fall. Dollar General is up 1%. And also, this is good to see. Again, going back to the narrative that, if Target's falling, the consumer's weak. I mean, I don't know, dude. If people are buying at Dollar General, maybe Target's just getting a little too expensive for people, which, yes, proves that the consumer is weaker, but the consumer is not necessarily weak. Like, if you could get toilet paper for the off-brand toilet paper for $10 at Dollar General versus $17 at Target, maybe just go to Dollar General, right? Maybe that's the switch that consumers are making, and they're saving some money. Best Buy, we had earnings as well for Best Buy. So Best Buy, another consumer stock, they missed revenue by 1%. They beat EPS by 11%. So miss on revenue, beat on EPS. Best Buy is up. Wow, 11%. Wow. Best Buy's up. Best Buy's actually up. That's incredible. So a beat on EPS gets these guys up 11%. Their guidance, I can't see their guidance at what I'm looking at right now, but I'm assuming their guidance was pretty good. That's good to see that Best Buy's up. That means the market thinks Best Buy is going to grow. It means they think consumers are going to shop for TVs, laptops, Dell computers at Best Buy, right? People are going to buy stuff at Best Buy, and so the market's rewarding them up 11% right now. PayPal now up 3.5%. So PayPal starting to get a little bit more in the green today, 63.17 on PayPal right now. We got Palantir 21.17 up 1%. Giving up a bit of their gains that they had in the pre-market, but they are still up on the day. And Robinhood here at 21.18, up 0.45% on the day. Dell 171. So Dell is down 4%. Again, they have earnings after the bell, so they're taking a little bit of a hit right now. Path is now down 34%, 3 cents away from going below $12. Wow. Oh, Foot Locker. Yeah, they had earnings as well. These guys, do they do good or bad? Wow. Foot Locker's up 24%. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Foot Locker. Let me get their numbers. So again, like people are ready to buy. People, I mean, if people are buying sneakers, if people are buying, maybe they're not buying $150 cardigans from Lululemon, but if they're buying $90 sneakers, then there you go. So Foot Locker beat expectations of EPS 22 cents versus 12 cents. So they beat EPS by 80%. Revenue $1.88 billion, slightly lower than $1.89 billion. Year over year, EPS is down 68%. Revenue is down 2%. Comparable sales are down 1.8%. They affirmed their guidance for 150 to 170 a share on EPS, which is not bad. I mean, they beat EPS by 80%. The market's thinking obviously something's going well to increase their actual earnings per share, even if revenue is a slight miss by 100 million. Foot Locker up 25%. Now, Foot Locker was down a lot going into the print. Foot Locker fell from 36 to 22 back in March, and then it bottomed out at 20. So now it's at 28. So it's not like it's it's some huge gain that it hasn't seen before. It was at these levels. It was higher than these levels, but they fell after bad earnings last quarter, and now they're recovering on a good quarter. And it's nice to see that the consumer is still strong enough to shop at Foot Locker. Not bad. C3 AI up 15%. Yeah. They had a good earnings. I'm not gonna lie. They had a good earnings. Again, they're poised as a Palantir competitor. They're not really. I mean, this is all you need to know to understand why C3 is not a Palantir competitor. On the earnings deck yesterday, you know how Palantir puts customer count, which is pretty obvious, right? You got a customer, they paid you something, therefore you can count them as a customer. C3 AI put customer engagements. That's not real, right? Basically, like people that are probably in pilots with them, they're talking about, oh, we're growing 40% year over year with our customer engagements. Like what like that's nonsense, dude. What are you talking about? So obviously they're massaging the numbers a little bit. They are showing decent growth, but it's stuff like that leads me to never trust the company like C3. What do you mean customer engagements? Like I don't want to see customer engagements. I want to see how many people are actually paying you, but they like juicing up the numbers. Regardless, their federal business is growing 40% year over year. Their actual subscription business is growing north of 30% year over year. So good numbers for C3 AI, very tiny company at $2-3 billion. So it's good to see them up 13%. But it goes to show, the market's actually looking at AI names. And if C3 is putting up the numbers, even more than Salesforce, the market will get excited about that. HIMS is up. Is HIMS up? Wow. HIMS passes 20. Incredible. Robinhood at 21.12. HIMS at $20.33. HIMS went to $20 from 16 last week from the GLP-1 news, and then it fell right back down to 16. Apparently that was an incredible dip for those who got into it because we're right back to $20. Kind of the same thing that happened with Robinhood. We got to 21, then we fell all the way to 16, and now we're right back at 21. I mean, it seems like the market is hungry for growth stocks that have a catalyst associated with them that are not as big in terms of their market cap, like a Salesforce or like a large cap tech. And so they pile some of that money and rotate some of that money into these types of companies. Path is below 12. Wow, my goodness. Path is down 35%. So I'm already down like $2 a share on the 13,000. I'm already down like 10% on the shares we bought yesterday. So, oh boy, Path is down 1197 on Path. 1197 on Path. Again, TJ bought me 1,000 shares at $13. So we're down already $1 on that. Now we'll see if it bottoms out anytime soon. I mean, you would think it bottoms out after being down 34%, but if this sucker just keeps going, this is the biggest earnings decline we've seen this entire cycle. I don't think we've seen a company do worse than Path today, down 34%. If you have any candidates, let me know in the chat, but I don't think we've seen anyone do that bad. Best Buy up 11%, Foot Locker up 28%, HIMS is up 4%, C3 AI up 13%, and PayPal up 2.4%. Nvidia is now green, 1152 on Nvidia. So Nvidia now continues to go green. Would you recommend to buy Path now? No, because I have no idea where the bottom is. And there is a 3-day rule. Someone says, Amit, do you know about the 3-day rule? Yes, I know about the 3-day rule, but TJ didn't give a shit about the 3-day rule. So he just straight up bought us 1,000 shares yesterday. Yeah, look, my perspective on Path is that I need to do more research. I really need to do more research. Because again, I mean, let's do an activity right now. Let's look at let's look at the mother effing options on this thing. Let's look at how bad the options are, because these guys should be cheaper today. They should be cheaper today. So let's go to Path. Okay. We're going to go to Path and we're going to go to trade options. We're going to go to January 2026. I really want December 2026. So that's another thing I'm waiting for. But okay, let's look at the $20 call. Path was at 18 yesterday. So assuming it in 2 years it gets to 20 would not be the craziest assumption. That today, I don't know if it shows you on the desktop. Let me just look at it on mobile. So that $20 leap is $1.55 today. It is down 69%. So what we're looking at right here, the $20 2-year leap for $1.55 is down 69%. That's relatively attractive pricing if I think Path is going to be worth $20 in 2 years. I mean, that you don't get discounts like that often, but there's always a reason you do get a discount, right? And one of the reasons might be that Path is not getting back to $20 in 2 years, and Path is going to be stuck. So it's one of those things that the only way you can really decide to pull the trigger is if you have conviction on it. But that's where real money is made, dude. Like, real money is made when you see something fall that low, no one wants it, and then you jump in. But you've got to jump in knowing that, like, you're right and everyone's wrong. I mean, this is the Peter Thiel quote, right? You've got to be right about something that the world is wrong about. You've got to be right, and you've got to be contrarian and right. So you have to be on the side. You have to be on the island by yourself, and then you have to make sure you can survive on that island. And so no one's going to rescue you when you're going to buy Robinhood at $8 or Palantir at $6, right? Like, no one's going to be on your side. Everyone's going to call you an idiot. But if you know something the world doesn't know, and right now I have no clue about something around Path that the world doesn't already know, I don't have a competitive advantage to say, hey, the world's stupid, I'm right, and this 35% down is going to be 35% up in a few years. Because if it goes up 35% in a few years, my options are going to be up, 100, 200%. But there's got to be an argument there, and I don't know if there's a big argument yet on Path. Chris says, when I DCA into a stock, I start super lightly, say 5% of what I want to put in, then I wait and add another 20% on the way down. Then if it tanks, then I still like to add the rest or cut and hold. Yeah, that's fair. And definitely taking 3 days for that to play out makes a lot of sense. Okay, let's get to the OpenAI news. Did Kohl's have earnings today as well? Kohl's had earnings? Wow, Kohl's is down 22%. I didn't see their numbers. Hold on, let me pull that up and then we'll talk about OpenAI. Okay, Kohl's, their ticker symbol is KSSS, right? KSS? Yeah, KSS. Okay, so Kohl's, their earnings, they missed on revenue, they missed on profits, and it looks like they missed on EPS. And they cut their sales outlook. EPS is negative. Wow. So the market thought they would have 3 cents of profit. They had 24 cents of losses. So they had negative 0.24 cents in revenue, 3.2 billion versus 3.3 billion, and they decreased their sales guidance. Now, is this a weakening consumer? I don't think so. I think Kohl's just sucks. And the reason I'll say Kohl's sucks is because I've been to Kohl's many times. Why? Because they have this Amazon partnership, and the Amazon partnership allows you to return anything at Amazon. And my mom sends me every other week to return 1 trillion things from Amazon that she doesn't need, that she continues to buy. And so I go to Kohl's and I return the stuff and I look around and I'm like, you guys are like, why are you guys around? Like, you guys sell bed sheets and like men's clothes and like off-brand sneakers and like plates, so I don't know. I mean, I'm being facetious here. There's probably a little bit of a consumer weakening if Kohl's is missing on their same store sales outlook, but also like Kohl's is not Target or Walmart. And I think Target and Walmart are eating up a lot of the sales that might go for Kohl's. By the way, Kohl's would be out of business if they didn't do the Amazon partnership 2 years ago. Amazon is giving them all the foot traffic. The only reason I go to Kohl's is to return stuff to Amazon, and then you might end up buying something when you're there. So I think that's more of a Kohl's issue versus a consumer issue, but could be a little bit of both as well on the consumer end. So that's what we got. Hims broke 21. Wow. Not bad. Not bad. Hims, it's $20.72. It was at $21.16. Robinhood, $21.27. People want Robinhood, man. Oh, by the way, some news on Robinhood, and then we'll talk about OpenAI. Vlad spoke yesterday, and he actually finally confirmed what everyone has been asking me about for the past 3 months. Literally, I think people really think I have his phone number, dude. Like, I cannot tell you how many DMs I get a day saying, hey, Amit, can you tell Vlad about this? Hey, Amit, can you ask Vlad? Hey, Mig, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, guys, I don't I communicate through his like secretary. I don't know the guy like that, but he did say this. Robinhood right now, 21.42. we're getting tax lots. We're getting tax lots. So Garcia, friend of the channel, says, hey, when are we getting tax lots, bro? Because what he tweeted yesterday, we're above $8 billion in assets under custody for retirement. So Garcia, did I mention that? Oh, no. Did I mention that yesterday? I don't know if I mentioned that, but they passed $8 billion in assets under custody. So they went from $6 billion to $8 billion in the month of May. And then Garcia said, when tax lots? And then Garcia even tagged me. He said, if anyone can convince him, it's a myth. And then I think Vlad finally saw this and he got so annoyed after seeing this tax lot tweet because he gets like 1 million of these a day. And he was like, you know what? Tax lots are coming later this year. Tax lots are being able to sell specific types of shares. So if I bought Palantir shares at $8 and then I bought Palantir shares at $21, let's say I don't want to sell the $8 shares ever, right? I want to keep those till the day I die. Tax lots allows me to sell a certain set of shares that I bought at a certain set of at a certain time, and that's good for my taxes because those $8 shares they have long-term capital gains tax applied to them. But the $21 shares that I bought yesterday that I feel like selling today at $22, they have short-term capital gains taxes. So if I sell my Palantir shares, I don't want to sell the shares that have already vested for those 2 years that are necessary, or that 1 year that's necessary to avoid the short-term capital gains taxes. I want to sell the ones that I bought yesterday. And so tax lots creates the division that lets you do this. Fidelity lets you do this. Schwab lets you do this. Pretty much every broker lets you do this besides Robinhood. And so that's been a big request by a lot of people. And that's what they want to see. Robinhood right now, 2132. Also, a lot of bigger accounts have been coming to Robinhood. And so all these big accounts are used to having tax lots, and Robinhood doesn't have it. So these big accounts are like, yo, what the fuck is going on? Why can't we pick which shares we want to sell? Like even Chris, friend of the channel, he's like, dude, I love Robinhood and I use them, but like I need to have my tax lots, which is why I use Fidelity for a lot of other stuff. And so I think that's going to incentivize more people to come to Robinhood as well. TJ says you get to decide. Yep, you get to decide, which is a good thing for Robinhood. Oh, let's look at Bitcoin real quick. We didn't look at them, and then we'll get to Sam Altman. Oh, wow, little pump on Bitcoin. 0.75%. The ETF inflows were good yesterday. They were positive. So we had good inflows yesterday. 68,633. We were at 67,000 yesterday. So that's good. And that should be pumping MicroStrategy. Yup, they're up 5.85%. Coinbase 247, CleanSpark 1780, Robinhood 2140, Hut 8 Mining 913, IREN 789, Cypher 385, Bitfarms 225, Ethereum 3788, and then Marathon 2110 on the day as well. Riot 1045 as Bitcoin continues to go higher. Robinhood right here 2145 on the day. Not bad. How do you see Bitcoin on Webull? You type in BTC and it should pop up. BTC and it should be there. Okay, cool. Let's talk about Sam Altman. 2144 right now in Robinhood. Let's talk about Sam Altman. So the news on Sam Altman, it's a 4-minute video. I'm going to let it play. Essentially, he got fired in November. Remember in November when Microsoft fell from like 380 to 365, that random Friday when Sam Altman got fired? And everyone was like, oh, the board of directors on OpenAI are so bureaucratic. They don't understand innovation. They don't understand tech. You know, how could they fire someone like Sam Altman? He's the visionary. Well, apparently one of those board members who's not a board member anymore, she decided to get on a podcast and she spoke her mind, and she ended up explaining why the board fired Sam Altman. So here's 2 minutes of her talking about this. Definitely important for Microsoft and for Apple if they're going to start partnering with OpenAI, and what it means for AI in general. So let's take a look at this and then we'll keep going from there.
For years, Sam had made it really difficult for the board to actually do that job by, withholding information, misrepresenting things that were happening at the company, in some cases outright lying to the board. At this point, everyone always says, like what? Give me some examples. And I can't share all the examples, but to give a sense of sort of the kind of thing that I'm talking about, is things like, when ChatGPT came out, November 2022, the board was not informed in advance about that. We learned about ChatGPT on Twitter. That is wild, bro. That's your biggest product ever, and the board of directors doesn't know that's coming out. That's kind of Sam Altman saying, hey, you guys have a board role, but we don't give a shit about you. like, could you imagine releasing the most revolutionary AI product ever and not telling your board of directors? It's pretty interesting. Sam didn't inform the board that he owned the OpenAI startup fund, even though he, constantly was claiming to be an independent board member with no financial interest in the company. On multiple occasions, he gave us inaccurate information about the small number of formal safety processes that the company did have in place, meaning that it was, basically impossible for the board to know how well those safety processes were working or what might need to. And that's why one of the head researchers in machine learning of safety left 2 weeks ago, and now he's at Anthropic as well. To change. And then, a last example, that I can share because it's been very widely reported, relates to this paper that I wrote, which has been, I think way overplayed in the press. The problem was that after the paper came out, Sam started lying to other board members in order to try and push me off the board. So it was another example that just like really damaged our ability to trust him, and actually only happened in late October last year when we were already talking pretty seriously about whether we needed to fire him. And so, there's more individual examples, and for any individual case, Sam could always come up with some kind of like innocuous sounding explanation of why it wasn't a big deal or misinterpreted or whatever. But the end effect was that after years of this kind of thing, all four of us who fired him came to the conclusion that we just couldn't believe things that Sam was telling us. And that's a completely unworkable place to be in as a board, especially a board that is supposed to be providing independent oversight over the company, not just like, helping the CEO to raise more money.
So one thing I'll say here as a caveat is I don't know this lady or her agenda or her interests, her financial interests, her political interests at all. So everything she could be saying potentially is all wrong, and Sam has a totally different story, and her perspective is based on her need for control and power. You've got to really remember, like, people have their own interests here. I'm just pointing out it is interesting because that whole situation where he got fired, everyone thought the board of directors was just stupid and they didn't like that Sam was being a visionary. From her perspective, she's like, no, this guy's a pathological liar and all he does is lie. And if he can't even tell us when he's announcing a new product, how are we supposed to trust them managing artificial general intelligence? And to just back up her point a little bit, in the data, the people that are leaving, not only the co-founder of OpenAI, Ilya, but then one of the head ML researchers who went to Amazon, Anthropic, yesterday. We talked about that on the Morning Open. Like it seems like other people also agree that the leadership is not giving them the confidence and safety they need. Tesla right now at 180 to feel that OpenAI is going to be the most responsible manager of AI. And I think that's also why Elon raised $6 billion yesterday or 2 days ago, because he realized, hey, maybe we need a hedge against OpenAI. And if we need $6 billion to do it, then we need $6 billion to do it. And we're going to come up with XAI. So now maybe she's all full of crap and maybe Sam has a totally different story. I don't know. But it's one thing to keep in mind as we see this OpenAI saga play out, because it does seem like there's other stuff behind the scenes around Sam Altman and management there. I don't really have an opinion on it. I don't care that deeply about it, but I am curious how it affects Tesla. And I'm definitely curious how it affects Apple. I feel like I'm one of the only people talking about the fact that Sam Altman will get 2 billion active iOS devices to deploy ChatGPT on. Tim Cook only cares about safety. I mean, they literally created iOS 14 to stop the advertising. You know how you have to say, do you want this app to track your activities? They did all of that for their own motives, but also for user safety and the, to protect the sanctity of the data that the individual user has on the iPhone. I don't think Sam Altman gives a shit about protecting data. I mean, for goodness sakes, even though it's funny, he basically stole Scarlett Johansson's voice. Again, I don't blame him for that. I don't think Scarlett Johansson really has a court case. I actually don't think she's going to win that court case. But the point is, he doesn't care. So how is Tim Cook going to feel when Sam Altman does whatever the hell he wants with the iPhone? I mean, and if he isn't able to do what he wants, is the iPhone even going to be as good via, their AI services, whatever it may mean? I don't know. We're going to have to see how that plays out. But that is one thing to keep in mind when we look at what's happening in the general AI landscape. Faraday Future is up 63%. Okay, so that one is up. It went from 40 cents to 73 cents. That one is up on the day. HIMS up 4.24%. NVIDIA green on the day. Robinhood 21.47 now on the day, up 1.78%. Tesla 180. Palantir 21.25. NVIDIA continues to be green. PayPal 2.3% of the day. Salesforce, wow, 19% down. Salesforce is still down on the day. 19%. Salesforce just lost, basically 50 billion. They went from 263 to 213 on market cap. So they are down on their stock today. 50 billion. And then Snowflake 145. Snowflake's down. Wow, look at that. This is why Palantir is so important, bro. Robinhood, by the way, 21.57, up 2.25% of the day. Snowflake is down 1.65% because Salesforce is down 20%. The market's basically realizing, wait a second, if Salesforce is messing up on their numbers and they're just, a CRM, and they convinced us basically 5 months ago that they were going to be this AI play, which is why we gave them the premium. Is Snowflake going to miss on their numbers and their guidance because they're trying to convince us they're an AI play, but in reality, they're not an AI play? The reason Palantir is not falling with Snowflake, Salesforce, MongoDB, and all the other SaaS names, all the SaaS names are red. I mean, let's go to SaaS right now. All the SaaS names are red. Look at this. Wow, look at this. Everything is red on the left-hand side of my screen except Palantir. And the reason for that is because Palantir got $480 million from the Army yesterday. Confluent, Snowflake, Datadog, Oracle, CRM, Team, MongoDB, Adobe, ServiceNow, Cloudflare, CrowdStrike, Zscaler, Intuit, Twilio, GitLab, all of these SaaS names down 1 to 5% on the day. And the reason Palantir is managing to stay in the green is because none of these names can get $500 million randomly on a Wednesday. I mean, for everyone who says Palantir is overvalued, and I hear a lot of that stuff, I can understand your argument from a pure software perspective. But again, when I spoke to Mariana at the DC event, who is one of the lead analysts on Palantir, I asked her straight up, why does JP Morgan have a $12 price target and you have a $28 price target? And she was like, Amit, those mother effers don't understand defense. Mariana, people forget she's a defense analyst before she's a tech analyst. And Palantir to her is not just a tech play, it's a defense play, which is why she said, yeah, buy the stock, $28 price target, because her argument is, wait a second, if we think there is a big defense moat here for Palantir, then you can't analyze it as a traditional software company, and you've got to give it a multiple. And that's why we got Palantir up on a day where everything else is red. So nice to see that. And they got the Ian partnership yesterday, which was also really good for Palantir because they continue to reaffirm existing partnerships and go deeper with their customer base. Okay, SoFi is green a little bit, 687. Open Door is green a little bit. PayPal 62.35. Disney 101, that's green. Robinhood is 21.49 on the day, so Robinhood's still green, up 2% right now. Not bad at all. Are you bullish on UiPath? I have no idea yet. Let's check Path. Let's check how it's doing. I will learn about Path over the weekend, guys, and then I'll let you go next week. Path 11.99. I'll let you guys know everything I find next week, whether I like it or not. I'm leading on the edge of not liking it, quite frankly, because the little bit I know about RPA makes me think that it's a commodity and it's not that interesting. But it's worth $6 billion, dude. They have $2 billion in cash. So that's why I'm also thinking, like, wait a second, is this like when rates get cut? Do this thing just jump to 15 and there's some short-term money to be made? I don't know. So I got to really deep dive into the financials and the fundamentals, and I'll let you guys know next week what I think. And we'll see. Path is a buy on Seeking Alpha. Okay, if anything is a buy or a sell on Seeking Alpha, you just have to be a little weary of that. Seeking Alpha is just a bunch of people, no different than you and me, putting their thoughts together and coming up with buy or sells. So really, you've got to have your own conviction on if it's a buy or sell versus Seeking Alpha or any of these other media entities out there. Foot Locker still up 27%, Best Buy up 11%, Dollar General up 3%, PayPal 62.41, Robinhood, wow, 21.75. Wow. Robinhood, $21.75, up 3.13% on the day. Again, that $1 billion of share buybacks that was announced 2 days ago. And I think the market's starting to realize, well, if it falls back to 17, 18, we already know who's going to be buying. It's going to be Robinhood. They like the stock. Robinhood 21.80. So maybe we should like it as well. Bitcoin as well. And you see, Bitcoin was down yesterday, but Robinhood was green. It was not super green yesterday, but it was green, even though Bitcoin had a bad day. And that's why the company executing is so important. Like my thesis in the beginning of the year, when I looked at what I thought was going to happen, and one of the thoughts I thought was going to happen was that Bitcoin was going to go higher and the Bitcoin proxies were going to do well. But I didn't like MicroStrategy. I didn't like CleanSpark. I didn't like Coinbase because all of them are like proportional 1-to-1 on Bitcoin. Robinhood was the only company that had things outside of Bitcoin. Bitcoin was a catalyst, but it wasn't the only catalyst to propel the stock. And never in my wildest expectations that I imagine all the different announcements they were going to make for the past couple months and the innovations they continue to roll out. But Bitcoin going up plus their product innovations helps it. And Bitcoin being down yesterday didn't really hurt it that much because Robinhood is a company outside of just Bitcoin. So nice to see that Robinhood has some momentum here. Crazy volume on Bitcoin, some news maybe. No, I don't think there's any news. I mean, so yesterday the ETF inflows were 28 million. BlackRock had 24 million, Fidelity had 17 million, Bitwise had 11 million, ARK had 4 million, Grayscale sold 31 million. So net inflows of 28 million. There has to be some news though, because the volume is intense. Let me actually go to one thing and see if there's any news here. Goldman Sachs says the Bitcoin ETF approval was a big psychological turning point. It has been an astonishing success. Okay, so Goldman Sachs is bullish on the Bitcoin ETFs. That note came out. BlackRock now has $20 billion of Bitcoin. That was passed yesterday. Oh, this is the news. How could I forget this? I forgot about this news. This is correct. You know how we talked about Trump being super pro crypto? Joe Biden is now super pro crypto. President Joe Biden's campaign started reaching out to the Bitcoin and crypto industry. This report came out last night. I actually saw this at like 11 p.m. Yeah, it looks like Biden's trying to reach out to crypto influencers and crypto people in the space to look at regulation for crypto frameworks. That might be the reason why the market's getting excited, because now if Biden wins or Trump wins, it doesn't matter because they're both going to be friendly crypto presidents. President Joe Biden's re-election campaign has begun reaching out to the crypto industry and players over the past 2 weeks for guidance on crypto community and policy. Sources told The Block they noticed a significant shift in the tone from the Biden administration and campaign towards crypto. The new outreach efforts come shortly after the Biden administration faced backlash for signaling it would veto an alleged anti-crypto bill. This is democracy happening in real time, folks. This is democracy happening in real time. Trump says, hey, I love crypto. And Biden says, hey, for me to get elected, I have to do what the majority, which is what democracy is, right? The majority of people want. And it seems like the majority of people probably don't give a shit about crypto, but of the majority of people that do care about crypto, the majority of the minority, they really care about crypto. And Biden's like, well, if you guys care about crypto, it looks like I'm gonna have to give you some crypto. And that's democracy working itself out for Biden to now be pro crypto. And that's helping Bitcoin as well. Robinhood 2150 right now, Bitcoin 68,588. As it looks like Biden is more pro crypto. UiPath $12.10, down 33% on the day. CRM Salesforce continues to fall, down 19.8% now on the day. There you go. There you go. Now, is Biden lying? Maybe. Is Trump lying? Maybe. But the point is they're marketing, and that's all Bitcoin. That's all Bitcoin really needs at this point. Chris says, I like Hood at 13 and DCA down from there at 9 to 10. What am I missing? An example of one I probably missed. Well, Chris, let me ask you a follow-up question. Why do you think Robinhood deserves to be worth $13? That's the question, right? Because when you give me your logic for that, I can give you the counter logic. You got to think of the valuation at 13. If you like Robinhood at 13, you got to ask yourself, what is the market cap versus the growth of the company at $13? I mean, I love Robinhood at 13 too. That's why I bought a lot of Robinhood at 13, but that's like asking for Palantir to go back to 7 right now. It's just not that's not, we're not going to get that, you know, it's just, it's like asking to get to Tesla at 100. It's like, maybe, but the market's kind of spoken and that's probably not going to happen. Now, granted, my price target on Robinhood by the end of the year is 25. So at buying at 21, maybe the upside is not that good, right? I agree. The upside's probably not that good. But if it goes to 30, 35, which I do think is possible, I'm just not betting on that. I think 25 is more reasonable than 21 could be a great buy. But in general, I don't think we're getting back to 13. I think too many things would have to go wrong for us to go back down to a $13 price target. Assets under custody is the whole Hood story. Yep. And that continues to go a lot higher, along with a lot of other catalysts, dude. I mean, remember, they have 500,000 people on the wait list for credit cards that aren't even gold subscribers yet. I think, so here's my plan on Robinhood for June. June tends to be a bad month for the markets, right? So in June, I would imagine the trading volumes, the crypto volumes, everything kind of takes a little bit of a hit for Robinhood. I think Vlad's going to activate the credit card rollout in June, the new UI rollout in June, and the 1% match in June. That is my hypothesis. And the reason for that is because I think if that goes up 1%, or that goes up, or all that gets unveiled, all three of those catalysts, even though June would be a shitty month for the markets, all those catalysts could help propel their organic growth. So I think one of the reasons he's been holding out on launching all those features, Robinhood 2163 right now, is because he knows June is going to be bad. And that's when he can deploy those features, and that creates the organic growth. That's my assumption. We'll see if it happens, but that's what I think could be happening as well. Pending home sales. Okay, we got some home sales data. Let's look at that. Home sales data. All right, I'm not seeing it on my website. Leslie says 7.7% versus 0.7 expected. Let me see if I can pull that up right now. I don't know if that's good or bad. Let me see. Home sales. Home sales, or is that out? Okay, so home sales. Yeah, so this is the actual, let me pull this up. So home sales, we have April pending home sales fall 7.7% month over month. Okay, so it looks like the market. Okay, so what's happening? So what this means is the market thought home sales would fall 1% month over month. They fell 7% month over month. My response to that is no shit. No one wants to buy a home at an 8% mortgage. So, like, yeah, I mean, probably that's why. Yeah, look, until we cut rates, I don't think home sales are going to get that much better. Increasing supply is not going to help because right now, me and my dad. So Robin at 2180. Me and my dad, we went to an open house on Sunday. So this open house was for a beautiful house in our neighborhood. The house is objectively worth 1.2 million, and it was selling for 550. So we went to the open house and we started talking to the realtor, and the realtor was like, yeah, so there's this website where you have an open bid, and we got hooked up on the website, and he says, I think it's going to go for like 660. Right now, the listing price is 550. And then so if you bid at around 650, the home is probably going to sell. One of the things the listing agent mentioned is that right now, the reason people don't want to buy homes or even make homes is because the raw materials, because the house did need to be renovated. We probably had to spend probably $100,000 renovating the house, is so high that it didn't make sense to like start building a ton of new supply of houses because the raw materials, the wood, all the lumbar, all that stuff, it costs money. And so the margins you're going to make on actually selling the house based on what you use to renovate it or build the house are not that good. And so until interest rates come down, which is a question of seeing shelter and oil disinflation, we're likely not going to see house prices come down or house sales go up or construction go up as dramatically as we want to see it over the coming couple of months. And so I think that's kind of the big thing we're looking at right now in the context of home prices. Now, my dad didn't end up getting the bid. It ended up selling for 750. It ended up selling for 750. So my dad was ready to do 650. He was going to take out a loan against another property he has that's basically paid off, and he's going to get 500,000 from that, put it into this house, put another 100 into renovating it, because it's such a dude. It's like we could not believe it was on sale for 550. Like objectively, the house is worth 1.2 to 1.3 million. It's a bigger house than our house, and we got this house for like 550 back when mortgage rates were like 2 to 3%, and it's in our neighborhood, so it's a pretty big house. But we didn't end up getting it. Someone bid 150 higher, and then we got out of the deal. But I think that's the problem that's going on with home prices right now. Now, is that affecting the S&P? Let's see. S&P 500. It's actually up. It was down 0.5%. Now it's down 0.26%. So that news was not that big news for the broader markets. Let's check the NASDAQ QQQ 454 down 0.32%. Bitcoin 68,732, seeing Bitcoin up 1% on the news or just on the Biden news, and it's going higher from 67,000 yesterday. And Robin right here 2176 on the day as well. Did it have brick walls? You know what? It had brick walls, but none of those brick walls were as real as the brick walls that I have. So I think a lot of people don't understand that my bricks are real. Oh wow, look at who's calling. Let's see if he knows that I'm live right now. Hello, Steven Fiorillo. You are live on the Market Open with 1,263 people. How are you doing?
Oh wow, I didn't realize you were live.
Steve, did you not know that I do a show every morning that I've been doing for 2 years? Did you just forget about that?
I don't know what time it goes. So I'm walking to go get something to eat real quick.
No, but Steve, I've done the show for 2 years. You're supposed to be one of my best friends. You didn't know?
Yeah, but it's after 10 o'clock. I thought it ended at like 10.
Steve, the markets aren't. I cover this all day. You understand? Oh, by the way, Robin at 2192. Okay, now that you're here and you're walking to get something to eat, first of all, what are you going to get to eat? Tell everyone what you're having for lunch.
Lunch. It's 10 a.m. I need breakfast.
Okay, what are you getting for breakfast?
4 eggs on a wrap.
4 eggs on a wrap?
Yeah.
No sausage, no meat, nothing?
No, just eggs.
Okay. Is it a beautiful day where you're walking right now?
You know what? I gotta tell you, it's actually pretty nice in the city right now.
Okay, not bad. Okay, so
the only reason I'm calling you right now is I want to see what you were thinking.
You just cut off. Say it again. He definitely just cut off. Bad service wherever he's at. Steve, say hello if you can hear me. Robinhood 2191. Got a little pump on Robinhood. Okay, let me call him again. Let me see if I can call him again. I bet you he was going to ask me about Path, dude. I bet you he was going to ask me about Path. Steve's a sniper. If he sees an opportunity, he'll definitely try to bounce at it. Yeah, his service must suck right now. I'll try to get him on the phone one more time and see if he can pick up. Robin at 2182. It got to 2195, then it got hit. Oh yeah, call failed. Yeah, his service is crap, dude. I don't know where he walked into, but He walked into a bad area. Okay, so we'll try to get him back in a second. Robinhood 2184. Dell is down 7%. Wow. So Dell took a hit. It was up 8% yesterday. Now Dell taking a hit. Wow, down 6%, 167 on Dell. Salesforce is almost down 20%, continuing to fall. Path 34% down. It just went above $12 now, back below $11.96, down 34% on the day. Robinhood 24.92 up 4%. Let's see if we can get to that $22 range on Robinhood. Let's see if it's possible. And let's see if it can keep going. Let me see if I can call Steve again.
Hey, it's definitely your phone. I have full service.
Oh, it's my phone? Oh, that's weird. That's weird.
But anyway, what did you think of Salesforce? I'm thinking about storing a position to keep showing levels.
You're thinking of buying Salesforce.
Yeah, it was a good quarter. I think the street got it wrong.
Okay, why do you think the street has it wrong?
You see the amount of cash flow they're producing? I mean, okay, they're no longer a growth. You knew that. It's mid to high single digit growth now. And I think they're worried that they need to grow inorganically and make more acquisitions for overall fundamental business. Their cash cow.
Okay, Steve, we can't hear you that well because of where you're at, so we'll have to call you later, but I'll talk to you later because there's just too much background noise for you right now. Okay, later. Yeah, he has way too much background noise. See, interesting. Like I think Steve's wrong on this. I think well, I'll try to get him on the market close, but I think he's looking at it without diving deeper into AI. And I think when I explain him why I think it's not a good buy the dip, he might get it. Because again, guys, we looked at CRM's AI offering yesterday. By the way, I talked to some really important people yesterday about AI, data, etc. I had a good 2-hour conversation with them yesterday. And I asked them like, yo, what is this sales? What is Einstein? They're like, dude, it's all repackaged bullshit. They just straight up told me none of it's real. It's these companies trying to sell more offerings on top of their initial software, and they're using AI as the gateway to try to get sales. Salesforce now down officially 20%, while it's about $53 billion in market cap. And as a result of that, Robinhood 2166, so getting rejected at that 2190 level. As a result of that, I don't know if it gets re-rated to the upside, even if they continue to grow, because if they're not an AI play, maybe the street doesn't get that excited about it. So I don't know. I'm curious to hear Steve's thoughts. Maybe he has some different perspectives than mine, but I think Steve's a big dude. Steve called me the other day and he was like, dude, I need to get more shares of Palantir. So I think if Steve takes a deeper look into what Salesforce is offering from their AI offerings versus Palantir, it's going to become obvious to him that any money he's thinking of putting into CRM, it might just be better allocated to something that's actually doing AI, which is Palantir versus Einstein. Big Billy sold out of CRM at 282. That's good. Oh, by the way, you're not the only one, dude. Mark Benioff has been selling CRM like a mother effer, bro. He sold I'm gonna try to pull up the graphic. He sold I don't know, $50-60 million worth of stock over the past couple of days, right before earnings. That's a lot of stock, dude. At least when Carp sells, it's not the day before earnings. It's it's like a month, 2 months, 3 months in advance, and they're all scheduled. Fucking Benioff is just unloading on Salesforce, 15,000 shares every other day. And I was like, well, wait a second. I think he knew that the revenue guidance wasn't going to come in as good. And he took a nice little exit at 280, 275. So maybe management as well realized that AI might not exactly be what they're well suited for at this moment. Path is now down 35%. Path is down 35% on the day. Wow. Salesforce can always modify their AI. It's not a done deal. The problem is the people I talked to yesterday says they've been trying to sell this Einstein AI offering for 4 years, and all it is a chatbot. So the question becomes, what modification do they put out there that really makes it exciting? And they probably can. I wouldn't put it against them. I just don't know how or what they would pivot into to start selling meaningful AI operational workflows to the enterprise. Can they do it? Sure. Will they do it given, their history of trying to sell what I was told is repackaged LLMs? I don't know. Palantir is not up as much as it should be up today on this $480 million contract because Salesforce, Snowflake, Datadog, etc. is down. Palantir is the only green SaaS name that is standing out of all the SaaS names. And the reason for that is because of that Army contract. Everything else is red. Salesforce is a big name, guys. Salesforce is a $250 billion market cap SaaS name. If they're down, the rest of the market in the SaaS sector follows suit. Palantir, the only one that's not following suit. today. Look at this. Confluence down 4%. Snowflake's down 2%. Oracle's down 4%. Atlassian's down 3%. MongoDB down 5%. These companies didn't even report earnings. Adobe's down 4%. ServiceNow's down 9%. ServiceNow didn't even have earnings either. Why are these guys down 9%? Is the market thinking ServiceNow is going to be the same thing as Salesforce in regards to revenue guidance and profit margins going down because there's not really an AI play? If the stock market feels that AI is only a play for consumers and for semiconductors, and that enterprise software is not going to get the multi-trillion-dollar opportunity to capitalize on, which is AI, then all of these stocks are going down the drain. All of the narratives have been broken. The market basically says, all right, we got it wrong. And all that money goes back into NVIDIA, AMD, blah, 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 blah. Now, I think that's highly unlikely because the reason NVIDIA has all this GPU demand is because third order derivative software platforms like a Palantir, potentially like a Snowflake, should be the beneficiaries. However, if a Snowflake is not actually the real deal, if MongoDB, Cloudflare are not actually the real deal when it comes to capitalizing on AI, if Salesforce isn't the real deal, and there's only one guy left standing out of all the software names to capitalize on the multi-trillion-dollar opportunity that is AI with an enterprise SaaS, then Palantir is going to the fucking moon because they're going to be the only ones left. Now, will that play out? I don't know. And I think it's too early to say Palantir is the only winner here. They've really got, next quarter is important, dude. They've got to show the growth because if they don't show the growth, I hope the market doesn't interpret them in the same way that they're interpreting Salesforce as a company that is saying that they're in the AI space, but there really is no growth or capitalized momentum off AI, because that is the reason why Salesforce is down. You can't lower your revenue guidance and your profit margins, but you're telling the street that there's this huge $1 trillion AI opportunity. So if Palantir at least beats on earnings next quarter, maybe raises guidance a little bit further to 22, 23% year-over-year growth and grows customer count even more decisively. And the Eaton partnership we saw yesterday shows that customer count is getting, or customer relationships are getting deeper in regards to why Eaton wants to keep spending with Palantir. The military, the Army contract we got for $480 million continuously shows why there's not that many defense tech software vendors. Booz Allen Hamilton is not getting $500 million to deliver AI to the military. It's going to be Palantir. It leads me to believe logically there's only one name that's going to be left standing, and that's going to be Palantir. And as long as they crush on their earnings, then hopefully that continues to gain momentum for them as well. All of cybersecurity is down as well. Yeah, they're still classified as SaaS names, and as a result of that, they're going to get hit as well. And so we'll see. We'll see how that Q2 plays out. That Q2 is going to be very important. Tyler says, as soon as the market turns around, Palantir will shoot to 24. By the way, the S&P is overweight software, so odds are Palantir will not go in unless another software firm comes out. We'll know Monday. Yeah, I agree. The S&P is definitely overweight software. And like Lululemon is in the S&P. I think those guys are headed out the door in the next 7 to 8 months if they can't get their earnings to go up, which means companies like that will start to exit. And then hopefully it'll make space for Palantir, but all their software names that aren't performing will start to exit as well. And that should make space, but probably not going to be joining in the next coming weeks. Some of you said you bought Path. Someone said they bought 1,200 shares of Path. Look, I don't think it's a horrible buy because you're buying it down 35% of the day. And you're basically buying it at the bottom. The bottom was $10.80 back in October 2022. But I just don't know if this thing recovers. Kathy Wood, by the way, bought 400,000 shares yesterday or 2 days ago. So the question is, does she buy the dip? And maybe we would see a little bit of a spike if she bought the dip. But I mean, we're not seeing really anything here. It just continues to go down. Maybe she's selling. I guess we'll see tonight. But again, I don't think it's the worst buy because it's down that much. But that's literally just me talking about it from the stock's down 35%. It can't go any lower. In all reality, we all know the sucker can go down a lot lower, which is where the fundamental research comes in. I'll see what I can find. And maybe there's an actual reason to get excited for it. DB, thank you for the $2 super chat. Really appreciate it. Thank you for that super chat as well today. John says, Amit, did you see the super old Palantir clip I posted? I did not. I think, did you DM me about that? I can share that live right now. Yes, you DM me about that. Okay, let me pull this up. Okay, so since we're speaking about Palantir, so John, for those that don't know, great Palantir account on Twitter. I'm going to put their link in the description. They find a ton of random things about Palantir that no one else finds. Robin right here, 2183. So they found what they said yesterday is the oldest clip of Palantir from 2009. Okay, interesting stuff. So let's take a look at this clip, 3-minute clip. from 2009. Karp was quoted in this clip. After someone's hired, I occasionally ask them, do you have a jacket? At what thrift shop did you get it at? Is it an acceptable thrift shop? Is it within 5 sizes of what you have? It shouldn't be like 40 years old and obviously have 15 moth holes in it. Okay, here we go. This is from the Wall Street Journal, basically 15 years ago on Palantir.
At first glance, you might think this is a typical Silicon Valley startup, complete with free food, toys, dogs in the hallway, and a 24/7 work ethic.
There's the bed. It is particularly sad when I only live 4 blocks away. So, I'm tired when I'd rather sleep here than walk home.
Okay, I think I did see this a while ago, but it's been a while since I've seen this. But look at that. Sham Sinker sleeping in the office. That's incredible. I love it. That's amazing.
But when these young engineers aren't battling each other in a game of Halo 3 or Turbo Hearts, they're engaged in a very different type of endeavor, counterterrorism. They're part of Palantir, a startup in Palo Alto, California, named for the Seeing Stones in The Lord of the Rings. For the last 5 years, the company has been building sophisticated data analysis software that last year was used to expose a network of suicide bombers originating from Pakistan. While in many ways typical of a startup in terms of its culture, what's not typical is Palantir's straight-laced clientele. Old-line intelligence organizations like the Pentagon, the FBI, and the CIA. In QTEL, the CIA's venture capital arm contributed $2 million to the company's overall $30 million in startup costs. Palantir won't discuss specific clients, but current and former U.S. officials familiar with its work tell the Wall Street Journal that the company's software handles some of the most advanced counterterrorism work in the world. Sources say it has helped reveal new trends in roadside bombings and uncovered details of Syrian suicide bombing networks in Iraq.
We work across the government space, anywhere where there's an intersection of civil liberties and finding bad people.
Founder Alex Karp thinks the company's relationship with Washington works because they share a common goal that has to do with substance, not style.
The people doing the work are very similar to us. What does the person look like who's in the mountains or enforcing civil liberties or doing analytic work in a secure environment? There's somebody who's being underpaid, overworked, is fighting bureaucracy, and they're doing it because they love what they do and they believe in our country. Well, what are we like? We're underpaid, we do it because we love it, and we continue doing it because we love it.
And part of loving what they do means doing it
Yeah, I love Karp. I love Karp so much.
their way, flip-flops and all, even when their clients in DC tend to be buttoned-up guys in suits.
After someone's hired, I occasionally ask people, do you have a jacket? At what thrift shop did you get it? Is it an acceptable thrift shop? Is it within 5 sizes of what you have? So we do have, it's good for people to know that they may someday, need a jacket, and it shouldn't be like 40 years old and obviously have 15 moth holes in it. But when people come here, we show them our indigenous environment. I might throw on a pair of shoes, but in fact, I sometimes do. But other than that, you see us as we are.
Are you telling me Snowflake's going to be a bigger company than that guy? Are you telling me Datadog? Like at some point, dude, we're betting on people. Are you telling me are you telling me another name is going to outwork that guy to build one of the most important software companies? Like, I'm just not buying it, bro. I'm not, like, that is the guy that I'm betting on. And maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think Slootman or whoever the new guy is, the Indian dude, I don't think they're eating Palantir's lunch, dude. I think Palantir, this is their fucking market, and they're going to win this game over the next decade.
Appears to be working. Palantir executives tell the Wall Street Journal they have 50 Washington contracts and have opened a financial analysis arm to work with hedge funds and other financial institutions. The company expects to be profitable by the end of next year. For the Wall Street Journal Digital Network, I'm Stacey Delo.
I think the reason Karp was happy to see Arnie and I at the DC event, and why he wanted to take pictures with us, why he wanted to mess with my hair, why he didn't think it was like cringy or tacky or weird. Any other CEO would not have touched my hair and grabbed it. Like, the reason I think Karp wanted to do that, and he was happy to engage in that moment. By the way, I got news that Karp saw the tweet when I posted it, and he was really happy that, the tweet got out there and people got to see him actually holding my hair. Like, he was really happy that moment happened. Is because he eats, sleeps, and breathes Palantir. And as a result of that, to finally get the recognition that your company is getting, by people like Arnie and I, right? That people on the internet actually talking about it and actually caring about it. Robinhood 2194. I think he finally feels, oh my God, the secret thing we've been building for 20 years that we know is better than everybody else, that we do shit different than everyone else, is finally being seen as what it should be seen, which is a company that is going to be probably the most important software company on the planet from a geopolitical perspective. And then also from an actual tech and software perspective, it's just better than everything else. And some of these earnings we're seeing, we're starting to see why it's better than everything else and what they're able to do. The only thing Palantir is missing right now is the like tangible overall growth story that is higher than 25, 30%. And that's hard to do. It's not easy when you're compounding at 2 billion, 2.6 billion a year. But I think Karp's really happy that this is the company's moment. The pivot to AIP was genius. It was absolutely genius. I mean, like ChatGPT comes out and then next month Karp's like AIP, boom, bet the company on the line. And then they do 3 conferences since then. The last time they had their conference was in June of 2023. Like they fully went all in on the opportunity. They realized that they had the ontology, which is what they took 20 years to build. And that is the central thing that makes AI valuable, which is what we're seeing now. And now they just have to continue the growth. And if they can continue to do that and get $500 million contract from the Army on a random Wednesday, I like, you know, Karp said many years ago in 2021 with an interview with an employee, John, you should try to get that clip, John. It's when he's wearing the white shirt and he's in the interview series. And he says, I think the company can be 20 times bigger than it is today. That would be a great clip to post today, especially because we got the contract. Let me see if I can send you the video. He said at $20 back in 2021 that the company was overvalued at $20 in 2021. I agree. Now I don't think it's overvalued, but he said, hey, I think the company has a chance to be worth 20 times worth what it is today, which would be a $400 stock price, which is closer to $1 trillion. And obviously Karp is going to be Karp and he's going to talk his book, but I think he was speaking from a sign as a founder, not just talking his shit. This is the video right here, John, if you want to see it. I think he was like legit saying, yeah, there's a reason. There's a freaking reason why we should be 20 times bigger than we are today.
It's one
video for those that haven't seen it. He says in this video, I would be able to find it, but when the YouTube video is like, when they turn off the comments, they don't give you the transcript, because if they allowed me the transcript, I could just Command F where he says that exact quote. But it's in this video where he's talking to an employee. It's a really good video for those that haven't watched it. And he's just like, hey, we're gonna be bigger than what we are today because we're doing stuff that the rest of the world isn't doing. Robinhood, $22. Robinhood is $22. 52-week high. We haven't been at $22 in 3 years. Oh my goodness. $22 on Robinhood. 20 freaking $2. $22. Wow. Robinhood, 22. There you go, baby. $22 on Robinhood. Wow. Up 5% on the day. 4.36%. I mean, look, it makes sense. Vlad said the tax lots are coming. Vlad said the tax lots are coming. If the tax lots are coming, then the streets got to buy it, right? If we're getting our freaking tax lots that everyone has been complaining about for 5 months now, then we got to get our tax lots. Oh, by the way, Farzad, friend of the channel, he just had a baby boy. Clive Farzad Mesbahi, born on 5/29 at 10:09 a.m., 7 pounds, 4 ounces, 20.5 inches. Look at that. The baby and the mom are both healthy. Wow. This is amazing. Shout out to Farzad. He's a good friend of the channel. He's been on the channel a bunch of times. He's now a dad. Clive Farzad Mesbahi. You got Farzad having a baby boy while Robinhood hits 22. I mean, like, that's just beautiful, dude. That's just beautiful. We hit 2204. Wow. We actually hit 2204. Not bad, dude. And so here's the thing about Robinhood. Now the streets realizing, well, wait a second. Did we not really understand Robinhood at 16, 17, 18? Is there something different going on here? I don't think this is a bunch of meme people buying Robinhood. They bought Faraday Future. They bought GameStop. In fact, they all hate Robinhood. I think this is institutions. 80% of the Robinhood flow is institutional. I think they're like, you know what? Let's buy some more fucking Robinhood. Let's double down. Bitcoin's going higher. The Fed's going to cut rates. Robinhood's innovating every single day. They're announcing something. There's $1 billion of buybacks if this thing falls all the way back down to 15, 16 bucks. What are we doing here? Why are we not in this name? Coinbase went up 700% from the lows. I'm not saying Robinhood is Coinbase, but I am saying Robinhood did 64% of Coinbase's crypto notional volumes last quarter, even though Robinhood's not Coinbase. You know, obviously Coinbase is a different animal when it comes to Bitcoin, but if Coinbase went from 30 to 210, Robinhood went from 8 to 21 at this point. I mean, I get like, it doesn't need to do a 7x, but my price target of 25, I think by the end of the year is not crazy, given all the momentum and all the growth that they're establishing outside of just crypto for their business. So nice to see that with Robinhood now. All right, let's take one last look at the market, and then I'll get you guys out of here. We went long today at 10:30. S&P at 523, Palantir 2126, up 1.5%. Again, Palantir is the only green name out of all these SaaS stocks. This is incredible. Look at the left-hand side of my screen. Everything is red besides Palantir. So we got Palantir green on that, Robinhood's green, crypto stocks, Coinbase 242, CleanSpark 1721, Robinhood 2196, Bitcoin 68,720, Marathon 2049, Riot $10.22, Hut 8 Mining 899, MicroStrategy 1690, Bitfarm 222, and then Robinhood here $22.03 on the day. All right, not bad. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate you all. Hope you all enjoyed the market open. We'll be back for the market close at 3:45 p.m. and we'll see how the market turns out. We had great macroeconomic data this morning. Tomorrow's going to be a really big day for that PCE report. And then we'll keep going from there and see what continues to happen as we move forward. Palantir right now, 21.28 and Robinhood at $22.03 on the day as we end out the market open. All right. That's it. Look at SA Crypto. Just woke up, bro. What happened to Path? You got to rewatch the show, dude. You got to rewatch the show. But guidance wasn't the best, earnings wasn't the best, and so that's why they're down 35%. I'll have a lot more research on Path, and I'll bring it to you guys over the next coming days, and we'll see how that continues to go from there. Robinhood $22.01, Palantir $21.28 on the day. Thank you everybody for being here. I will see you at 3:45 on the market close. Bye everyone. Have a good one.